Hello everyone, I'm Wang Jigang. Today, I'm truly delighted to be here to share with you a brand new and innovative tent of ours, which we have proudly named Vista. Just a moment ago, in the short video that played at the very beginning of this presentation, you undoubtedly already saw a compelling clip of me personally experiencing the remarkable Vista tent on a rather challenging rainy day. This tent is a new product we've specially developed for the European and American markets. It's a double-peak tent that expands the head and top three-dimensional space. This design optimizes the issue of limited space at the top of traditional double-peak tents. We hope everyone will like this new product. Some of you might be wondering why we've recently been focusing on designing, developing, and optimizing tents specifically for the European and American markets. The reason is that in just the past 6 months since we entered the European market, our partners, users, and friends who follow us online have given us a lot of great suggestions. During my conversations, I have indeed noticed an interesting phenomenon. In many different countries and regions all around the world, such as in Europe and America, or in various Asian countries like China, Japan, and Korea, most tent brands do not specifically develop tents that are truly tailored to the unique geographic and climatic characteristics of a particular region when designing their products.
After I discovered this issue, I decided that starting in 2026, we will design tents specifically tailored to different countries, regions, and environments.
For example, in regions like the UK and Northern Europe, the climate is complex and changeable. The British Isles often experience strong winds and heavy rain. As for Northern Europe, users there are generally taller and larger, so they require bigger tents. Because a friend once told me that he is 185 centimeters tall and that he is of Nordic descent. He said his brother lives in Northern Europe and his height is 195 centimeters. So I think users who are taller and heavier really need a tent with more space. That's why our newly developed Saga and other models are specifically designed for users in Europe and America, where people are generally taller and bigger. This way, their tents will be a bit longer, wider, and taller. Of course, while ensuring this space, we also need to make sure they have good wind resistance. Because I've also heard that when camping in Scotland, you often encounter strong winds and heavy rain, so we need to make targeted designs to meet these users' special needs. For example, let's take another look at users in the United States. In North America, as we all know, they have very long hiking trails, such as the classic PCT. These routes usually take several months or even longer to complete the entire trail's hiking and exploration. In this kind of challenging environment and with such extremely long hiking distances, there's naturally a significant need for even more ultralight gear. That's precisely why we see many niche brands in the US using DCF to make their outer tents. So, this is also a choice made based on local characteristics. Let's take another look at Asia, for example, Japan, where hiking is also relatively mature and popular. We notice that Japanese users generally aren't as tall or large in build, so there's actually no need for us to make especially large tents. What we need to do is tailor the size and weight of our products to better fit Japanese users' aesthetics and preferences. As I mentioned earlier, starting in 2026, we will be launching several new tents. These tents are specially developed to cater to the usage habits and environmental conditions of specific countries or regions. We hope everyone will like them. After thoroughly discussing how we meticulously design and develop tents with a targeted approach, I actually noticed some discussions on forums and social media, particularly concerning the aspect of the wind resistance of tents. I think there are several key factors that play a crucial role here. First of all, I believe the most important one is our user experience. In countries with developed camping cultures, activities like hiking, mountaineering, or camping are already part of daily life. But in other countries, or where outdoor lifestyles aren't as advanced, we don't go camping as frequently. For example, we might go camping once a month, or even just once every 6 months. When the intervals between our camping trips are this long, by the time we use our tent or other outdoor gear again, we might have completely forgotten how to properly use them. So, if you are a passionate camping or hiking enthusiast, try to consistently keep up a high frequency of enjoyable camping trips. Go often to various places near your home, such as local parks or the immediate outskirts of the city, and make regular and effective use of your essential outdoor gear. This will greatly help us become much more familiar with truly understanding and effectively using various types of tents, and thereby avoid any unexpected or difficult situations when we might have to hurriedly use our essential gear in the wild outdoors. When camping outdoors, it is absolutely crucial to properly and meticulously set up the tent according to established standards and guidelines before any strong winds and heavy rain showers arrive. So I truly believe that having enough practical camping experience will always be the absolute top priority. Second, when we, as dedicated manufacturers, design our tents, we really need to carefully choose the appropriate materials based on the tent's specific size and its intended use. For example, if we're designing a very large, spacious tent for extensive family use, it would be entirely inappropriate to use very lightweight and excessively thin fabrics for such a crucial tent. However, when we choose some small tents, like backpacking tents that are very compact and only suitable for one or two people, many lightweight and thin fabrics are actually more than capable of handling the situations you might encounter outdoors. Therefore, we truly need to carefully select different types of fabrics, robust tent poles, essential accessories, and various other raw materials based on the specific and precise usage requirements of each individual product. After discussing the previous 2 points, let's talk about another important factor regarding a tent's wind resistance. In addition to the structure of the tent stakes and poles also play a crucial role. Let's take a look at Daki's tent stakes. We commonly use Daki tent stakes in 3 sizes. One is the smallest 16 centimeter stake, which is definitely the lightest. Another is this 20 centimeters long stake, which has a medium weight. And the other is this 30 centimeters long stake, which is specifically designed for large tents. So when we're on soft ground or in windy conditions, does the length of our tent stakes determine the stability of the tent? Of course, the answer is definitely yes. Both our Saga and Vista models are equipped with 2 to 27 centimeter long ground stakes that we developed ourselves. Why do we include 2 long ground stakes? The primary and main purpose of these 2 long, sturdy ground stakes is to be specifically used for the tent's vestibule area and its windward side. By firmly and securely anchoring the tent with these 2 essential long stakes, the tent consequently becomes much more stable and resistant to strong winds. As for the other auxiliary stakes, we also carefully chose these 20 centimeter long stakes. This particular length is suitable for most outdoor environments, which provide strong and reliable support for the tent's stability. Now that we've thoroughly covered the essential tent stakes, let's take a closer look at the deck tent poles. In fact, deck tent poles come in many different models, such as the ones we're most familiar with and commonly encounter. Personally, I truly think that NSL and NFL poles are more suitable for use on smaller, more compact tents, but we absolutely need to clearly distinguish the significant differences between these 2 distinct types of tent poles. NFL poles in particular have very thin walls, a design choice which effectively reduces the overall weight of the entire pole structure. If the specific environment you're heading to is a particularly long-distance hiking trail and the chosen route doesn't typically have such complex or highly variable weather conditions, then you can certainly opt for much lighter and more efficient gear. Then you can certainly choose the NFL tent poles, primarily because they are noticeably lighter. However, when we are embarking on extensive expeditions or venturing into environments with truly complex and highly changeable weather conditions, I strongly recommend that everyone consistently choose the NSL model tent poles. Moreover, for NSL tent poles, the thicker the diameter, the better and more robust the tent's overall wind resistance will be. So it's incredibly important for everyone to have a very clear and comprehensive understanding of these crucial aspects, and then carefully choose different structural designs, different types of poles, or even various different kinds of stakes in order to truly make our outdoor life much safer and more enjoyable. Next, we're going to talk about the Vista tent. First, let's take a look at a classic tent we've made before. This red tent is our Libra model, which is also a two-person tent. The specifications of this tent are roughly as follows. Including the ground stakes, it weighs 1.25 kilograms. The height of the outer tent is 125 centimeters. The width of the inner tent is 120 centimeters, and the length is 220 centimeters. This spacious tent features a classic double-peak tower structure, which is quite similar to a pyramid design. Essentially, it has sharply pointed corners. The higher it goes, the more confined the interior space becomes. So I really personally recommend this tent for users who are quite under 180 centimeters tall. Because with this structure, if you're too tall, your head will hit the tent, which can feel a bit cramped. That's the main reason why we designed this particular tent. When we sit on the side of the tent, we can see that our heads are actually already touching the inner tent. With my height of 180 centimeters, lying inside this tent is still relatively okay, but my head often bumps into the inner tent, which does make it feel a bit cramped. Now, when I step inside and enter the tent, I can immediately feel that the available headroom isn't as limited as it is in the Libra model. Moreover, I've already placed a 10 centimeter thick air mattress inside this tent, and there's still another 10 centimeters of space above my head before I touch the inner tent. This fully demonstrates that the Vista tent offers a much more spacious interior. Now, let's take a look at the basic specifications of the Vista tent. Before that, I want to give you a quick reminder about the standard ground stakes we provide. The front and rear vestibules each come with a 27 centimeter long ground stake. Then for the side guy lines and anchor points, there are 8 short stakes, each 20 centimeters long. So the primary and overall consideration here is to significantly enhance wind resistance. However, if you're aiming for a much lighter setup when traveling, you can easily replace these ground stakes, of course provided that you'll be in relatively stable environments and won't encounter harsh or extreme weather conditions. Let's take a look at the specifications of this tent. The outer tent has a height of 130 centimeters, while the inner tent is 120 centimeters high. The inner tent is 230 centimeters long and 120 centimeters wide. Also, we've designed 90 degrees upright corners at all 4 corners of the inner tent. So the inner tent actually feels even more incredibly spacious. Let's now take a closer look at some of the interior details and features. The main poles of the Vista tent require 2 trekking poles. As long as the trekking poles can be freely adjusted to a length of 135 centimeters, they can be used. This crossbar here is mainly used to expand the volume of the inner tent. This way, its impressive 3-dimensional sense of spaciousness will be significantly expanded. For these 2 crucial horizontal poles, we have carefully chosen DAC's incredibly robust NSL10 poles to provide essential side support. You absolutely do not need to worry about its overall stability. If you meticulously set it up precisely according to our detailed instructions, the entire tent structure will be exceptionally stable and secure. Let's take a look at its interior space. There are 2 rope loops on each side that can be used to tie up this door, allowing you to open the door completely. The fastener here can be released as well. Once it's released, you can also tie up this side, which gives you a great visual space. In just a moment, I'll precisely show you how to properly set up this tent. Its width is 230 centimeters, which will be very appealing to many people who are taller or have a stronger build, especially when used by just one person. The space really becomes much more comfortable. This is an accessory that can be opened. When we need to roll up the door, we can loosen this and then the door can be opened. Additionally, there is a lock at the bottom of our door. It can also be used to lock the door. When it's windy, you can use it to keep the door shut, and then we can control its opening and closing from the inside. Open and close it as you like. We can also loosen the door by detaching the guy rope from the ground stake. The position of the vent's eaves is related to the guy lines. The farther out we extend the guy lines, the wider the spacing becomes, which also means better ventilation. As I just emphasized, this tent uses a 30D double-sided silicone-coated fabric for the outer layer. The top of this Vista tent is made from a single entire continuous piece of fabric without any seams completely. So even though this is a double-sided, high-quality, silicone-coated outer tent fabric, we absolutely do not need to apply any glue, and it certainly won't leak, because as we can clearly see from this visible shadow, there's approximately a 10-centimeter gap between the inner and outer tents, so we genuinely do not need to apply glue to these critical stitching lines, and we can still effectively achieve a completely waterproof effect. The vestibule of the Vista is quite large, with a length of about 70 centimeters. This provides enough space in the vestibule for us to cook or to store our shoes, backpacks, and other gear. Then, at both ends of this dashi crossbar, there are two pockets made of thick fabric to secure it in place. We have carefully sewed them inside, which also provides a very, very stable and secure effect. So you absolutely don't need to worry about its overall stability. It's truly excellent. As for this tent, I've already camped outdoors with it twice. One time the weather was good, and the other time it was rainy. We will continue to test it in different weather conditions to see if there are any adjustments needed. Okay, that's all for this basic introduction to the tent for now. Next time, I will make a detailed video showing exactly how to set up this particular tent for everyone. So that's all for today's content for now. I hope you'll continue to follow our account, as I'll be sharing more content with you in the future. I hope you like it. Thank you. Bye-bye.